Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Vanessa and I am an indie author from Toronto, Canada, and I publish under the pen name A Sage. If you are new to this channel, then you should know that I publish tips for indie authors, new authors and authors that have been doing it for a bit all alike, and a lot of it comes from what I've learned after having published 15 books so far as a self-published author. I also publish some behind-the-scene vlogs. I have some planner videos because I'm a huge plotter and planner, so there's a lot of stationery content on this channel. And pretty much I talk about things like tools and anything that I think might help you in your journey as an author in today's kind of environment of authorship. Today, our video is actually one of these tools videos, and not so much tools, but books. I have gotten quite a few questions, usually on different social media channels, that ask me about what kind of books I recommend to starting out authors, and what kind of books I generally reference. So I didn't want to make this a video that was just about books for brand new authors. I wanted to offer a selection of books and references and resources that I currently use still to this day after many, many years, and things that I've kind of collected slowly, because I don't think you should just go out and get certain books just for like starting out, for example, because there's stuff that you can learn from other people, but also your craft will grow, your style of writing will grow, and what you need in those resources, in those books, will change. So I kind of wanted to put together books that I think would be useful for you throughout your journey, ongoing journey as an author. So I have a whole stack next to me right now, and we're just going to go one at a time. And I'll go through them with you and kind of talk to you about why I like them, why I got them, and how I use them. So the first one is The Elements of Style. So this is a fantastic book. It is tiny. So as you can see, this is a very, I don't know if it'll actually keep focusing. I guess not. It'll keep focusing on my face. But here we go. It's a very thin little book. This is great for if you want to toss something with you, like if you like to write in coffee shops or just somewhere outside the house. This is a great little one to toss kind of into your bag, or just leave in the car or whatever it is that you write. So The Elements of Style, what is it about? It's pretty self-explanatory. It's about writing styles, but writing styles from a grammar perspective. So before I was a fiction author, I did get certified in technical writing, and technical writing is like the antithesis of fiction writing. It's so boring, but it's all about grammar and writing style and how to punctuate correctly and things like that. And so what this book does is kind of have that technical writing feel, but it has it for fiction writing. And I'm going to be linking, by the way, all of the books. I usually have pretty much all of them linked already below, but just in case, I'll relink kind of at the top there so you can grab them. But this one is great. It's straightforward. I'm wondering if I can, not too blown out with the light there. I don't know if it'll let me because the pages are so white in this one. They're not like green pages at all. But it's basically like literally just like phrases, how to properly punctuate phrases, how to properly punctuate dialogue, where your commas should go, Oxford commas, like all that stuff. So a really good one to have with you on the go and just kind of in your arsenal always. I always end up referencing this. And this is not a new book. This is like, I have the 4th edition. I'm sure there's other editions that have come out since then. I'm just going to move back a bit because some of these are slightly larger books, so we're getting larger. So the next one, as I'm sure you've seen this floating around already, if you've been trying to research what books are good for information for writing, it's Save the Cat Writes a Novel. So if you don't know about this book, this is great if you are trying to plot, if you're trying to learn more about plotting. This was developed from screenwriting techniques of writing. So very much like if you deconstruct the way that movies or TV shows or anything like that is screenwritten, that's where these beats come from. It's a fantastic book. I highly recommend it. The Save the Cat method, this screenwriting method, is how I write my books. I did go to like photography and kind of like film school because they were interconnected when I was still studying. And so I had already kind of instinctively known this, the beats, but to kind of have this in a book is really great. And as you can see, I've tabbed it off when I was reading it for myself for the first time. And I have like a lot of pages like earmarked. Bad, but that's what I do. It is a really, really great book. If you are not a plotter and you want to be a plotter, or if you're just trying to if you're still a pantser, but you want to figure out like what these beats are that everybody's talking about, get this book. Then character arcs, creating character arcs. This book is really, really good if you are wondering how to structure your character's arc throughout your story. I do have a resource library where I have sheets, worksheets and things like that I offer for free. And a lot of them have to do with character arcs. So if you want to grab that, you just have to sign up for the newsletter. And I will link like a video somewhere about like when I filmed it, when I first started uploading things to it. There's been some more added since then, but so just so you can see and get an idea of what is in the resource library before you sign up. But character arcs are so important. I love working with character arcs. I love working with character arcs more than plotting, more than drafting, more than anything else, because I love fleshing out a character and I love figuring out their growth throughout the story. It's one of my favorite parts of writing is the character part. And so for me, this book is great. And literally like anything by K.M. Wineland on writing is a good book to pick up. So if you have other ones that you're looking that are like in the same kind of series, just get them. They're great. But this one I think is a really good one to just have in general. Then I have a series of books. So there are quite a few here, and I'll put the most popular one kind of in the front and we'll bring it up. And these are the Thesauruses. So this one is the emotion thesaurus. This is the positive trait thesaurus. I have the emotional wound thesaurus. And last but not least, the negative trait thesaurus. So what are these books? So I'm going to put the rest down. They're heavy. But what is this one? This one is super popular. I've heard a million people like recommend it and talk about it. And there's a reason for that. It's wonderful. But what is it? I mean, in the name, it's a thesaurus, right? So when you think of a thesaurus, you know it's going to be suggested words for other words, right? But it's more than that. So the emotion thesaurus, the way that it works is you have different emotions. So if your character, let's say, is feeling dread, so I just opened randomly, it just says dread. The emotion thesaurus will actually give you the definition of the word dread. Then it will tell you what physical signals a person might have if they feel this emotion. So they might be holding the stomach as if pained, clutching arms to one's chest, a bent neck, making excuses to leave, sweating, rocking slightly. Like there's like a whole list of physical signals. They will tell you internal sensations. So a person might feel the chills. Their fingers might be cold, a weighted chest, difficulty breathing, things like that. Mental responses. They might have thoughts of escape. They might want to hide. They will have an inability to see a positive outcome. Then there's cues of acute or long-term dread. So like if this emotion were to continue for a long time, what would that do to a person? They'd be jumpy at different sounds. Their teeth would chatter. They might be crying. They could be hyperventilating. They would have anxiety attacks. And then they also give you something that's called may escalate to. So dread could escalate to anguish and terror. And then there's page numbers. So if you want to look those up in the thesaurus, it's here. And then there's cues of suppressed dread. Acting like one is simply feeling under the weather, attempting to escape via distraction, like a TV show or music or a book, keeping still, like things like that. So it's every kind of like main, and I don't know exactly how many emotions there are. Like a lot, like there's a lot. I can't even count. There's 167 pages in this book. So there's quite a few emotions in here. So all the main emotions that your characters might be going through, instead of saying, oh, they felt dread, they were afraid, this will give you that show, not tell. So if you're wondering how to show and not tell, or if you're at a loss for words, I had somebody comment recently saying that they don't know all the words for different things, and so they're having trouble. So they're not repeating the same word over and over. This is your best friend. This will give you ways to show what your character is feeling without saying what your character is feeling. So that's what these thesauruses are. So that's for the emotions. The positive trait thesaurus is more like different positive traits. Basically, if a character has positive traits, let's say your character is creative, so you get like the definition, you get categories, so achievement and identity, you get similar attributes to that positive trait, possible causes of that positive trait, different behaviors that the character might have if they have this positive trait, different associated thoughts, different emotions that might go with this trait. And then it gives you positive aspects and negative aspects of this trait, some examples from history. And then traits and this one, I love this one, traits and supporting characters that may cause conflict. So if you have supporting characters that say, so we're looking at creative. So if you have supporting characters that are perfectionist, lazy, or hypocritical, let's say, a creative person would have conflict with characters who have that. So if you're trying to think of like a antagonist, protagonist, or to create other supporting characters that might bring out more of the personality of your character. And I did like a video on tips on creating relatable characters that I'll link somewhere, where one of these tips was to create other supporting characters that are in opposition or have a different personality than your main character to bring out your main character's personality. And so using these opposition traits that create conflict is a good way to build off of. And then you could have they offer challenging scenarios for the creative character. So this is really great for positive characters. And then it's a similar thing, but it's for negative traits. So you would have the exact same thing, but just for like, let's say I'm opening it up: impulsive, inflexible, irrational, oversensitive, paranoid, so more negative traits. So if you're looking on ways of working with the negative traits and expanding on that more as you write, that's the thesaurus for you. The last one that I have, and this one is great to go hand in hand with, well, we're getting a lot of books here, with character arcs. So this one is the emotional wound thesaurus. So as already, like I discussed in that relatable characters video, how to create them, is your character should have some flaws, some wounds, and if you're working with some of the worksheets that I have in the resource library, then you'll see that I have the wound, that past wound that the character has. That comes up a lot, and that's from, like, if you're doing character arcs or character development, there's so many different methods that ask for that like internal flaw and internal wound, because it's so important that your character has one, because it defines like how they see themselves and how they present themselves to the world. So the emotional wound thesaurus kind of helps you figure that out. So let's say being rejected by one's peers is one of them. That could be like an emotional wound that your main character or any character has. Then it tells you different examples of it. So because they're socially awkward, for having a mental disability, due to not meeting society's norms in some ways, liking things that are considered weird, like different examples of why they were rejected by their peers. Basic needs that are often compromised by this wound. So for someone who's rejected by one's peers, it could be safety and security, love and belonging, self-actualization, and then false beliefs that could be embraced. So if you're thinking like, if sometimes I get a little bit trapped where I'm like, I know what my character's emotional wound is, but I'm getting caught on like, how would they portray themselves to the world because of this wound? So this gives you false beliefs that could be embraced, that they'll never find love and acceptance, that they're defective, that people like me, the people like me can only have so much in life. So they'll give you like different ways, triggers, ideas for the way that your character might be feeling about themselves if they have this emotional wound from the past. They tell you different things that the character might fear. And then they also tell you possible responses and results. So they might have low self-esteem or low self-worth. They could withdraw from others. They have an inability to trust others. Then they'll give you personality traits that may form, different attributes and different flaws. They have triggers that might aggravate this wound. So something your antagonist could maybe do to make this wound really visible to your main character. And then they give you ideas for opportunities to face or overcome this wound. So like, there's just so much. These books are packed with information. So if you if you're working on your characters, get these two. They're really great. And like I said, they're great hand in hand. And then the last one that I have is not a writing book at all, but it is a great resource. So I'm a planner. Huge planner. I love to-dos, but I also am an entrepreneur. I work for myself. I'm a business owner. I have a growing cover design business that takes up most of my time. I am also an author that also takes up a large majority of my time. I'm about to become a mom, a first-time mom, so that's going to take up a lot of my time. And then I have courses that I teach on design, cover design, etc. So I have a lot going on. And I love to plan, but every time I plan doesn't mean that I'm going to have time to get these things done. And so a very long time ago, this is a very long time ago, I kind of got into a rut where I felt like I was planning too much and trying to figure out too much, but not getting anything done. And so I got this book. This is a very popular method. And actually a lot of people use techniques from this book for their writing, like list making and things like that. And I believe stems from here, because this is a very old school method, getting things done. So this is the David Allen's method of getting things done. And you might think why do I need a book to tell me how to get things done? But it's not just a book, right? It's a whole system of planning. So the way that this planning, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but the overarching kind of idea behind the getting things done method is you create lists. You make lists for yourself, brain dump lists, and then those lists get organized into different lists, into folders. Like if you say you had think of it as like cleaning out your mental email inbox, right? You've got a ton of emails coming in, and then you're going to create little folders to categorize those. And the categories are, they could be whatever you want, but a lot of the times they are the things that you absolutely need to do right away. Like those may be someday lists, things that are relevant to a project you're working on, stuff like that. And it sounds silly to have read an entire book that will tell you how to get things done, but I cannot tell you how much this book has saved my life. I don't think I could be as productive as I am as an entrepreneur. I don't think I could run the cover design business as well as I do and expand it as fast as I am doing if it wasn't for this kind of being ingrained in my head, that I don't jump on every new thing that comes out, that everything is figured out and categorized. And I actually use a lot of this for my writing as well, where I also make lists for my writing. just different lists for like plotting, for characters, for books I'm like want to write. And that way, when I have an idea for a book, and it seems great and I want to just abandon everything else that I'm doing and jump on it, instead of doing that, I can think about it for a bit and categorize it and put it somewhere else in my planner, right? Kind of for the future projects, maybe in a goal planner or whatever. And so this kind of ingraining this in my head has been very, very helpful in just my mental state. So I definitely recommend reading that. I don't know, I'm sure you can get it as an ebook. So you don't have to like buy the whole book, but I really like having a physical copy of it. So anyways, that's a completely different book, but I definitely recommend it if you want to kind of declutter your brain and figure out a system for yourself where you're actually going to get stuff done without being too freaked out about it. So those are the books that I think everybody, and if you're a writer, and everybody who's starting out and everybody who's been around for a while should have in their arsenal. They're fantastic. They're ones I reference constantly. And so they're going to get a lot of use if you get them. So if, from my recommendation, if you're going to get any books, I would say these are a good investment to have. So I hope that that was helpful for you. If you know any other books that you think I should check out that I haven't mentioned here, make sure to mention them in the comments and let me know, because I'd love to pick up some new books. I'm always reading on the craft and I'm trying to expand the craft. And so I'd love to hear kind of what you guys have to say about that and what other books you might suggest to me as well if you have them. But otherwise, I hope you're all starting to enjoy this slightly warmer weather we seem to be getting. And I will talk to you guys next week. Stay magical and have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.